is KC9UDX. My name is Matt, and I welcome you to the 2 AM net. The purpose of this net is to promote the use of amplitude modulation, and also to establish this part of this band as a place for AM activity in this area. Everyone is invited to listen. Licensed amateurs who can do so legally are encouraged to check in. We listen in the AM mode and transmit in the AM mode where possible. If you cannot transmit in AM, we encourage you to listen in AM and transmit in FM. If you are transmitting in FM, please adjust your transmit frequency a couple kCs above or below from our receive frequency. This facilitates the use of slope detection, that is, demodulating your FM signal with our AM receivers. When checking in, please announce your call sign in standard phonetics. Again, this is KC9UDX. My name is Matt, and I will now begin accepting check-ins. Any stations wishing to check in, please come now.
Good evening, Matt, W9JCC.
Welcome, Frank, recognizing W9JCC, our most loyal check-in. Do we have anybody else? Stand by, Joe.
This is on super low power, maybe on N9FSE in New Berlin.
All right, recognizing Steve, N9FSE on super low power coming in very strong here. Do we have anybody else? Hearing none, we also have Joe Bratwurst from YouTube on the phone here. And I guess another month has gone by. It sure doesn't seem like it time-wise for me. Of course, we've got a lot of strange politics going on out there. Try not to get into that, I guess. The weather is a little different. In fact, it's it's a little too much for me. It's just way too hot and humid. But I think that's changing here as we speak. So I got some other things, but I'll save them for later here. We'll go to the top of the list. Frank, W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Okay, thanks, Matt. KC9UDX on the net, W9JCC. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Steve and Joe. I don't mind the weather when it's 72 degrees or so. It's perfect for me. And we got all of our winterizing done yesterday, and got everything put away, all the machinery stable in the tanks, and picked the table, put away all that stuff, and leaves either mulched or put over to the front of the driveway, or front of the lawn there to get picked up. So we're in winter mode now, even though it's quite not that cold, but it's getting, I guess it's about 58 degrees here. Got the tower down. I heard some reports that the wind might be pretty high. I didn't see anything over 30 miles an hour on my wind gauge, but just to be safe, we took her down so the antenna was about half as high as normal, so we're probably up about 30 feet or so. Anyway, back to net control, W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. Fine business on all that. I don't know. I guess most of the kids' toys and things are picked up out of the out of the yard. The pool has been closed for a while. Other than that, I guess I'm not terribly prepared for winter. I've got reconnected the furnace in my shop. I redid the roof over the summer, and I had to reconnect the furnace, so I've got that all going. And actually, it's kind of odd because that building does not retain heat very well, but it does retain the cold, and that's been my reprieve during the hot weather here. It felt like air conditioning in there. It's pretty cold. Don't have stable in the gas yet, not yet. But I have to do that one of these days. I do have a snowblower that every year I say I'm going to revive, and I never seem to get around to. We don't really have a real good need for it here, and it's not a very good snowblower anyway. It's one of those paddle wheel jobs, so it's not really a high priority thing. And the storms seem to have calmed down, although it seems like we're getting another barrage of wind. We'll see how that goes. And next we have Steve, excuse me, N9FSE from KC9UDX. Go ahead, Steve.
Running around here as usual. At least I wasn't checking the money, but I've been running around here getting stuff together and an additional thing. Take care of customers' equipment to check things over and got that back running again. That was easy after opening a power glitch out here after our storms we just had. And I still gotta let the coworkers know I got straightened out their issue that they wanted me to look at. The calls on the various couple other repeaters, the west side, FM38, the Linky repeater, maybe I'll get over to Mars here in the next go through. There's Yankee and some of those guys on the west side, I used to yank up right away too. Good to hear Bratwurst, Frank and Evad, so let me make sure these guys are aware here. N9FSE, back to back.
All right, thank you, Steve. Here we go with the coughing. I can only seem to keep my coughing down when I'm not talking. It's just that time of year, I guess. Although I'm getting a double whammy here with the fall allergies plus the weather. You know, my body seems to think it's late spring, which is not good. Anyway, you're coming in here very strong on low power with the attenuator. I'm thinking you have a receive attenuator, though. I'm not sure. I'll say that you're a solid 7, somewhere between 6 and 8, though. I was fiddling around with the receive tuning while you were talking, so I get a little bit of variation there. My tuning knob is a little bit loose from it's got a cord, obviously, and I got to put some rosin on there to give the cord some traction, so it's really hard to accurately tune that thing. If I'm not careful, I will detune everybody and not be able to hear anybody, and I won't be able to get it back again. So anyway, I was going to say something else here. Now I forgot. But next on the list we have Joe, YouTuber Bratwurst. Joe, go ahead and take a turn.
All right, thanks. Everyone was coming in pretty clear on my end over the phone, so that all seems to be working well, which is nice. And on the topic of the weather, it's been, like you guys have all said, pretty hot until today. Well, and it's now in the upper 20s and lower 30s, and it's snowing really hard outside right now. So I guess sort of normal November weather currently, but it being in the low 70s is kind of a surprise to me. But yeah, and I had a longer weekend this last weekend. I had Friday off, and a friend and I went up to his dad's cabin with his dad. We were all going duck hunting, which was pretty fun. The weather was nice for that. It was one of the really kind of sweltering days. And while we were out there, we fixed a 1964 Johnson 8-horsepower motor and tested it out on their aluminum boat from the 20s, which that was kind of fun to zip around on the lake with. The motor pushes it really well. It kicks up a lot of smoke because it's not fully restored, but it was pretty fun. So other than that, nothing much new has really happened, so I'll turn it back to you.
All right, thank you, Joe. That's fine business on that. I I don't know that I've ever worked on a Johnson motor. I used to work at a place where we made parts for them. And yeah, the weather is, you know, I think it's been at least, excuse me, at least 35 years since we had warm weather like this time of year, and I don't know that it was even this warm. Of course, you'll always hear when it's warm like this, people talking about breaking records and all that, and always have to remind people we haven't been keeping records for all that long when you get right down to it. I'm not sure why, but your audio is extremely loud this month. Not bad in any way. I'm able to turn the volume down, and you're crystal clear, so it's not something wrong on your end. It's just kind of surprising to me that I actually had to turn the volume down a little bit. But that's nothing wrong with that. With that, we're at the bottom of the list. Do we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net? Come now, please. All right, hearing none. I guess I should have mentioned this first. I don't know if this will happen this month, but last month, I don't know if you guys are too familiar with the YouTube algorithm. It's not an official thing. It's what everybody calls it. It's kind of like a, I don't know what you call it, more of a conspiracy theory, I guess. But the algorithm is this theoretical thing in YouTube that picks your video and spreads it around to people. And we hit the algorithm last month. Within the first 2 days of the video going on YouTube, we had 800 views. I think 800 views were in the first 24 hours, and that's very abnormal. Normally, we're lucky to get 40 views on the lifetime of these videos, and that's over months. So to get 800 in one day is pretty phenomenal. I gained a handful of subscribers from that. I thank everybody that subscribes. That does help, and of course the algorithm looks upon us that have subscribers, so that just keeps things going. The videos do seem to appear on Library within about a day, so you'll be able to find this one on Library and of course Odyssey also probably within, I'd say, the next 2 days for sure. We've had a time change, of course, that time of year again. I don't appreciate the time change. I kind of wish we'd stay on summertime all year long. But actually, if I had my true preference, I think everybody in the world should just use UTC. I don't see a problem with that. Everybody seems to think that it would cause all kinds of headaches. I totally disagree. I think everybody would get used to that very quickly. But that's my opinion. And one other thing I'll bring up, I guess I've mentioned quite a bit about needing to repair the transmission in my car. I was finally able to get the transmission pulled out and taken apart, and it's not at all what I thought the problem was. I thought the problem was a bad bearing. Well, possibly a weak bearing contributed to the problem, but what the core problem is there's a bunch of teeth busted off of fourth gear on the cluster gear. So I think I can repair it for about $500. I got to buy the parts and put it together. I probably will do that. I've got to do some more disassembly to make sure there's not more severe damage. I got to tell you though, if I had thought that that's all that was wrong with it, I probably would have just left it in and put up with the noise and just kept driving it. What's ironic is how quiet it was in fourth gear, and it was only noisy in all the other gears. But I suppose it's good to take it apart and try to fix it. If it is a bad bearing causing the gear to get damaged like that, it's just going to keep getting worse anyway. So with that, a little bit of blabbering there gives some guys some time here. Let's see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. Hearing none. We may have less people this month because of the weather, and of course there's always the other factors of it's hard to remember that what day we do the net on and things like that. So we'll go back to the top of the list. Frank, W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Okay, thanks, man. KC9UDX and the net, W9JCC. And I think you said the 2 a.m. net had 800 views in one day. I'll stand by. Okay. Anyway, you might comment on that, Matt, if that's the 2 a.m. net that got all those views. Signal-wise, you're your usual 60/9 nils, Matt. And Steve, on low power, is between 20 and 30. A little bit of QSB, but I don't think I ever saw him go under 20, so pretty good signal. And I'm guessing you're on the big stick there, Steve. And I wouldn't mind being on Eastern time myself. And I wouldn't mind UTC either. I have no problem with that. That everybody would know what time it is everywhere and be on the same time. And I guess you eat and sleep whenever you wanted to. So, anyway, not too much more on this end. Back to net control, W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. And, yeah, you know, amateur radio operators were pretty used to UTC. I've always been used to it anyway. I've always liked the concept of it, and I just believe, you know, everybody in the world would always know what time it is, and nobody would ever have to be confused about it or argue about what time it is here or there. And, you know, obviously everybody in every different locality would do things at a different time of day, but it doesn't really matter. You know, that's less of a problem than having a different problem or having a different time in every area. And the 800 views were on the 2 a.m. net video from last month. Like I say, it was, I think in the first 24 hours there was exactly 800 views, and there's been a handful more since then. Not unusual since then. There's probably, I'd say, a total of 810 by now. I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to go look. But just to have 800 views at all on one of these videos is pretty unusual, I'll say. And to have any one of my videos have 800 views in one day it just doesn't happen. So that is the algorithm hitting, and what happens when that happens is people are recommended the video. It just shows up in their recommendations or in the recommendations associated with other videos. And of course, YouTube has a way to determine which videos get that attention and which don't. And a lot of factors probably go into it, and I don't know exactly. I don't think anybody knows exactly what all the criteria are. And with that, we'll go next to Steve, N9FSE from KC9UDX.
Back from around the rack here, make sure I'm not doubling here. Alright. Yeah, we're just running on, the power is the number 2 power level setting out of 10, so that's where we were last time we ran this equipment, so that's good to know. And I was just also checking out another issue. It looks like the 900 machine isn't hearing. I don't know what's up with that. Everything looks to be normal. And I cycled it once, so it should have been okay. So I'll have to consider this a little further and see where we get with it, if anywhere. So it doesn't show any receive activity when I key up on the portable. It looks to be nominal, but I don't know, maybe I'll knock it offline here for a while, let it go. Well, pretty cool on the file of YouTube views, so that's incredible. And that's out there. Maybe it'll be out there some more. You'll get some more subscribers on and on. Just keeps going wild like that. I heard Scott and Bill on the west side, so sure we'll catch up with them sooner or later here. And what else was going on? I saw somebody was on. I think somebody's on 38. The way things look over there, but I haven't been listening over there. Daylight savings. Yeah, we got the big clock on the wall out here. I'll have to put that back an hour because it said 9 o'clock at 8 o'clock time here, so we'll get that set back to standard time. I'll get the ladder going for that. Nice. So things are nominal. Things are going good. Looking forward to one more day of work. Then I'm taking a couple of days to hang with my family, which is going to be in town. My brother and sister-in-law will be around. They live out in the Pacific Northwest in the Seattle area, and decided to take a trip to Dayton, of all places. Dayton, Ohio. The one year in many that I haven't gone there, and sure enough, my brother and sister-in-law go, but they were there to pick up an RV, which they're saving big bucks on, as opposed to buying it out by them. So they took a road trip to pick up their new RV, and then we'll see them when they get up here sometime either tomorrow night or I'll catch them Thursday or Friday or both or all. We'll see how that all works out with Mom and all. So that's looking forward to that. So that's some of my show and story here. Let the 900 chill out once, and we'll give that a reboot and a look around during the next go around here. Hello to Bratwurst, and like I say, hi to Frank and Matt, and see if I'll have to turn on the preamp here, listen for some deeper down check-ins if they're out there for us yet again tonight. After our storm, I had a little excitement watching the storms, but at least there were a few roofs lost and a few trees down and power outages here and there, but that didn't seem too widespread or too crazy, but it looked pretty impressive going through Illinois. So with that, we'll send it back up to net. At least it's all cleared out for now, too. And yeah, it's windy out here, so that big stick up on the tower is probably swinging a little bit there, Frank. Back to you, Matt. N9FSE. Over.
All right, thank you, Steve. I'll tell you, I got a, well, you know, I have a 900 megahertz handheld here somewhere. I don't know where it is right now. It's probably in the living room. Otherwise, I could probably try that out, although I'm not sure that it can hear me in the basement here. And that's one of those radios that I have no way to connect to an external antenna. It's got one of those reverse SMA connectors on it, I think. And I have no adapters for that. That's something one of these days I'll have to get. Not sure if my disc phone will work. Excuse me, not sure if my disc phone works on 900 megahertz anyway. I'd have to revisit the documentation for that thing. That would be the only antenna that I have that I could do that with. That antenna, I think is, no, it's not plugged into the 70 centimeter radio here. That has its own antenna. I think the disc cone might be grounded right now. Anyway. What else was I about to say here? Well, we've had 5 total views on this video so far today, and 6 actually, it just went up. So last month we didn't have that many views while the stream was live, and that's not unexpected. None of my live streams ever get a lot of views while they're live. It's always after the fact, and that's just another artifact of the way YouTube does things. So I guess if we get another algorithm hit, we won't find out for another day or so. With that, we'll go to Joe. Go ahead and take a turn, Joe.
Alright, thanks. I guess the topic of outdoor antennas, and yes, I am talking about antennas again. Sorry about that. But anyways, we're helping a family friend to clear out a farm dump that's on their property, and most of the stuff was dumped from like the 60s until the late 80s. So for my parents, there's a lot of like, ooh, I remember this thing kind of stuff in there. And that is something that I love doing. I love going through old dumps on property. And this one's big, but anyways, I found a TV antenna in there that had the actual like motor part of the antenna rotor that I have the control unit to. It's an Alliance one from like the early 60s. And so I'm going to go back there, and it probably doesn't work, but I'm just going to take it off anyways and probably test it outside, and if it blows up, then it's outside. But yeah, there were actually a lot of antennas in there, so kind of fun to look through. But anyways, it was fun, yeah, doing that. Other than that, I guess I'll turn it back to you.
All right, thank you, Joe. And as far as that rotator, you know, I would, if it were me, I'd probably open it up if you can, if it's not sealed shut, and clean it out, lubricate it, and I would suspect you can make it work one way or the other. And it might just work anyway, but of course, if it's, you know, if it's sitting there rotting, it might not either. So there's only one way to find out. Find business on that. Yeah, you can find a lot of neat stuff in places like that. I haven't done anything like that in a very long time. And a lot of the things that I own are things that other people have discarded over the years. I have not in my lifetime bought a lot of new things at all. I've bought a lot of used things, and I've found a lot of nice things in the trash over the years too. Of course, these days that's harder to do because people frown upon putting nice things in the trash. They'd rather break them up and put them in the garbage that you can't recover. You know, it gets shipped off to China and disassembled for parts or whatever. I guess they call it recycling. Who knows if it's really what everybody thinks it is or not. And of course, these days a lot of the stuff that people own is not very nice stuff anyway. So a lot of the modern things just aren't worth recovering from the trash anymore, which is kind of disappointing. And with that, we're at the bottom of the list. Let's see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. All right, I'm hearing none. That doesn't mean I'm not missing somebody. When it comes back around to Steve, we'll find out if anybody else is out there that I can't hear. But for now, let's see, I don't think I have anything else to bring up at this point. Oh, there's one other thing I should probably talk about. I think I did mention this last month. I just want to bring it up again. I've got this Pine 64 brand laptop, the Pinebook Pro, and that's what I'm using instead of this thing that is a phablet, I guess you call it. It's halfway between a tablet and a phone, which I would normally operate the YouTube stream with from here. This laptop takes the place of that, and it works very well. Of course, I can use it for a lot of other things too. It's light, it's durable, it's cheap, it's thin, it's incredibly nice for the price. It's called a Pinebook Pro, so if you haven't looked into these, it's something definitely worth looking into. It's ARM-based. It's a hobbyist machine. It's not like anything else you're going to find out there anywhere, I don't think. So I just thought I'd bring that up again. But other than that, we'll go to the top of the list. Frank, W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Okay, thanks, Matt. KC9UDX, W9JCC. And as far as YouTube goes, Matt, I use it when I got to fix something and I want to see how it's done. That's about my only contact with YouTube, which is very useful, and I've used it a lot for that. But as far as getting things streamed and getting hits and so forth, I have no idea what that's all about. And find Steve on Family Get Together. Sounds like I think he said they're coming in from northwestern U.S. So that's pretty neat. And yeah, your audio, Steve, is very loud, but it sounds just fine. just a few minutes. I mean, I don't think it rained very hard for more than 10 minutes, and then that pretty much disappeared. And yeah, my son finds a lot of stuff. He finds real nice stuff. He's into stereos, and he found an awful lot of them. He drives for UPS, and he knows people on the routes, and people put stuff out, or he'll see something in somebody's garage, and he'll ask about it, and sometimes they'll just hand it to him, and so he's found a lot of stuff that way. Anyway, not familiar with the Pinebook Pro. It sounds like it's kind of like a little laptop of sorts, but you can say a little bit more about that, Matt. How is that different from a regular laptop? KCI-UDX, W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. And what's different about the Pinebook Pro is that it runs an ARM processor. ARM stands for Acorn RISC Machine. It's the chip that is in basically every cell phone out there, I think. Actually, not sure what iPhones use, but I know that Apple is investigating using ARM processors in all of their computers now. So obviously, it's not x86 like everything else out there, it seems to be. You can pretty much only run Linux, or like me, I run NetBSD. I suppose you could run FreeBSD, things like that. Windows 10 theoretically might run on it, but not in the way you would use it on a desktop PC. Windows 10 is very strange. You can run a command line version of it, and I think that's what you would run on here if you could. I'm pretty sure the GUI version will not work. I think Windows is going towards more of a Unix model like everybody else sort of does. So that's why that might work. I'm not sure if it does or not. I guess what you would say is this is more like a Raspberry Pi if you're familiar with those. The Pine 64 products are competition for Raspberry Pi, and that's very similar to what this thing is. If you could imagine a laptop built around a Raspberry Pi. And I guess the most noticeable things when you look at it is that it's considerably thinner and lighter than most other laptops out there. It doesn't have cooling fans because it doesn't have the x86 processors in it, and it doesn't have a hard drive. It runs basically off of an SD card or what's called an eMMC, which is a particular type of memory chip that is basically in cell phones and things. And that, of course, contributes to the small size and the light weight to it. It's got a fairly large screen, a pretty nice keyboard, and a not so great touchpad, but it does work. And of course, the price is right. I think I paid just a little bit over $200 shipped. Of course, it's made in China. I don't know how you avoid that these days. Pine 64 started out as a Kickstarter thing to build a faster than Raspberry Pi sort of credit card size computer. And of course they've branched out quite a bit. They make all manner of products now. They've got two different laptop style computers like this. The original Pinebook, which is a little bit smaller but bigger in a way. And then the Pinebook Pro. They've got the Pine Phone, which is a I guess you call it open source phone. It does not. It's not Google proprietary. It's not Apple proprietary. It's totally open source. You can do whatever you want to it. They've got a tablet called the Pine Tab. They've got several different of these credit card size computers and servers and cluster-based computers where you plug in multiple credit card size computers, things like that. So it's well worth checking out. I think if you go to pine64.org, don't quote me on that, maybe just do a Google search for Pine 64, you should be able to find it. You'll find all kinds of information. If you were interested in purchasing one of these, you would have to pre-order it. They make them in batches, and they always sell out right away. So you could get on a pre-order list, and then the next time they make a batch, you would get one. And what's funny is when they put them into production, it takes about 2 days to get it. It's very weird how quickly that ships. And that's the story on that. Next we'll go to Steve, N9FSE from KC9UDX.
Alright, everybody's small group here is coming in very well. Just was thinking about Dave just a second ago, usually WB9BWP, but I guess he's got some sort of health thing he's going to be recovering. There's a recovery period from, so maybe he can't get to the station, so hopefully he's got a speedy turnaround on all that. Maybe we'll catch him next month, that'll be alright. See what kind of weather we're looking at then. There's some sort of something shattering around here, I don't know what it is, and been pounding on the 900 repeater, which keeps giving me, doesn't show me a receive lock, it throws the receive lock error code, so I don't know if I'll be able to get that to behave and be happy here tonight. Poke at that a little more, see where that gets me. As usual, I finally got my pen and paper out to make some notes on that repeater, but then I also wrote down a little scrap Pinebook Pro so I can dig into that a little deeper and see what kind of craziness that is and how much it costs. I should be listening to FM30 a little bit. I know they were going to work on the system a little and see if they could get stuff going. So yeah, everybody's been all over, and at least we missed the tower site starting the lightning storms, which is probably a nicer thing. And instead of focusing so much, I've been playing with that 900 box, like I said. So I'm going to turn it back up to you. We won't drag our feet too long. We will pull it all back in, and if I don't get distracted by 5 other things over around here going on nice. So this is a good net tonight, and it's good to hear the diehard crew out here and doing our part to beat the jump. Oh yeah, we had that guy Will last month, and I got him on my Facebook, so following what he's up to a little bit, but was hoping he'd come back this week, but this month we'll see if catch him or anyone else for the late part of the net here tonight. So, yeah, everybody sounded great. I never comment on that because I got good ears for everybody. And, it's funny looking at this meter. I guess I'm on power, I guess, and it doesn't really move anything on the display here, so pretty cool. Cool and two on the power meter. With that, back up to that. KC9UDX and the 2AM net NIFSE. Over.
All right, thank you, Steve. Here we go with the coughing again. Fine business on the 900 machine. I don't think I've ever used that one. I maybe have. I suppose I would have at some point. Next time around, you'll have to give me the frequency, and I'll next time I find that radio, I'll make sure, see if I can get in there. Of course, I would have to at the proximity and the height of that antenna anyway. I keep thinking, and I keep forgetting too. You know, I've been driving my wife's car for a little over a year now, and there's no antenna on that car. I never got around to putting a hole in the roof. One of these days I'll do that, but in the meantime, I guess there's no reason I shouldn't be carrying around a handheld. I've got a couple of them. Should be able to get into the 513 and FM38 at least. Get back on some of the nets while I'm driving. And a couple more things I'll say about the Pinebook Pro. I should have mentioned before, the battery life is pretty phenomenal. I've had it sitting here on the desk for about must be about 3 hours now, not charging. I've got 70% battery left. The screen is on full brightness. If I turn the brightness down, I have no doubt whatsoever it'd still be over 90%. And one of the unique features about this thing is that because it doesn't have a hard drive and because it's a hobbyist machine, you can switch operating systems as easily as plugging in an SD card. I'm running NetBSD internally, but I could plug in an SD card and be running Debian Linux instantly. I have run Chromium OS, the operating system that runs on Chromebooks, and actually that's what this machine is kind of comparable to. Is kind of like a Chromebook. But anyway, you can I've had probably half a dozen or more different operating systems on SD cards, and if I still had those all separate, I could plug them in at any time and just be running a different operating system really quickly. And one other thing I should mention, because it's an ARM processor and it's not a fairly modern ARM processor, this company designs their products for longevity, and so they're not always using the latest, greatest stuff. So that means that it's not as powerful as your typical everyday laptop that you would buy brand new, but for purposes that most people use these for, that's not really necessary. The NetBSD installation that I use, I can watch full-screen YouTube videos. I can do everything I need a computer to do. And of course, the reason I have it, the reason I looked into buying it in the first place, is because I have a bunch of headless computers around here. The computer that does the streaming for the 2 a.m. net is headless. I don't have a keyboard and monitor. I connect to it remotely, and that I have several servers and computers around here like that, and that's what I can do with this laptop. I can take it anywhere in the house or outside, and I can connect to any of those headless computers. But I'll keep rambling if I don't stop now, so let's go to Joe. Joe, it's your turn again from KC9UDX.
Okay, thanks. And I just wanted to add that it's good to hear that my audio is good, and I guess better loud than not loud. I might be using a different microphone from last time. I can't remember, but I'm just using the microphone in my Sony headset that I got for like $6 at Walmart, so didn't know that it was going to be too good of quality, but okay, I guess I'm satisfied with that. On the topic of that Pinebook Pro computer, though, that kind of sounds like a neat little machine, and for the price, I'm kind of interested in that. I'll have to take a little look at some more things that it can do. And it kind of reminds me of a mixture of a Chromebook, like how you said, and then my friend's super old HP computer from the early 2000s that he got at a local computer shop when him and I went down there and picked up some old computers for free, actually. They're just kind of the ones sitting in the back. I got a Sony one, he got an HP. But anyways, his setup on that, he has it boot to a selection of Windows 10. Surprisingly, it runs it great. And a Linux. I'm not exactly sure what Linux thing it is, but apparently it can run on computers as old as like 1993 or something. That might not be right, but I think that's what he said. But yeah, I just wanted to add in that Pinebook Pro kind of sounds like a neat kind of computer. Yeah, might want to look at one of those. So I guess that is the end, so turn it back to you.
All right, thank you, Joe. And I'm not sure which Linux. There's, hundreds and hundreds of, I guess they call them distros or whatever, different types of Linux. That's one of the things I don't like about Linux. But I can't imagine one that works on hardware from the 90s. That's one of the problems with Linux, is it doesn't work on stuff that's that old. There's that Kali Linux, which that may be what he's running. That seems to be gaining popularity. But I always tell all the users that use Kali Linux, they tell me why they want to run it, and I tell them, well, they really want to be running NetBSD, not Linux at all. People that run that operating system always tell me they want a bare bones operating system that doesn't come with anything built in. You install everything from scratch, and nothing fits that description better than NetBSD. That's one of the, in fact, criticisms that most people have about it, is that it does not come with anything. From my perspective, it comes with X11, which it wouldn't have to, but that's it. Everything else you install, which it's different. And there too, if you had a computer like this that you could play around with, I would definitely look into NetBSD. It's a lot of fun. And it is real BSD Unix. It's not Linux. Linux imitates BSD Unix is basically what it does. Anyway, we're at the bottom of the list. Do we have any last-minute check-ins for the 2 a.m. net? Come now, please. All right, hearing none. We're kind of at a point where we could probably go another couple rounds, but every time I think that I end up talking too long, and we end up running out of time. So we will call this the 7-3 round. You know what, though? I'll check Steve. Steve, did you happen to hear anybody when I asked for check-ins? Anybody that I might not have heard?
We just do a call in. Anyone anywhere that would like to check in at 2 a.m. net? Call right now, please. Now bringing up on nothing heard, so there's that answer.
All right, thank you, Steve. And with that, we'll go to the top of the list. Frank, W9JCC, 7-3 round.
Okay, thanks, Matt. And, thanks for the explanation here on the Pine 64, and I'm going to look that up when I get upstairs. I got a computer down here, but I don't use it that much. It's not too quick. I'll take a look at that. That sounds pretty interesting. And, what else? I don't have a whole lot more. I have some Milwaukee M18 batteries, mainly for the smaller tools, like the drivers and drills, so forth. But I picked up a leaf blower that uses those not too long ago, and boy, I'll tell you, you put a 2-ampere battery in there, you're lucky to go 10 minutes, so even on medium speed, those things eat batteries like crazy. And I notice now that Milwaukee has a newer technology battery, they call it high output, that will run cooler and longer. I don't have any of those, but my daughter got me a 5-ampere battery, and that's pretty good just for, cleaning off the patio and the driveway and stuff like that. But if you want to do some serious work, you got to get a couple of heavy-duty batteries on those things. They take a lot of current. Anyway, heard everybody really well. Joe come through real good too. And we'll say 73s and 73 style, and back to the control, W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. I'll say 7-3 to you. And, this is one of the reasons I wanted to bring the Pine 64 stuff up again. I know I've brought it up a couple times, but I think it bears repeating just because this is exactly we're exactly the kind of people that they make these products for. They're designed for hobbyists, and of course, amateur radio operators and people like us are hobbyists. And this is exactly the kind of thing that we do. So, and fine business on the batteries. I think what you're talking about is the lithium 18-volt batteries. I don't have anything that uses those. All of my stuff is either the 14-volt nickel cadmium or the or nickel metal hydride or whatever they are now, and the 18-volt. And all the 18-volt ones I have, I think I might have one good battery, and quite frankly, I think the 14-volt ones I only have one good battery left. So I'll have to rebuild those again one of these days. And I've got a really nice 2-cycle leaf blower. I have no real good reason to buy an electric one, except for the electric one I think would come in really handy for starting the charcoal grill. Although it might be a little overkill too. Or starting fires and things. That would really speed that up. Anyway, next we'll go to Steve and 9FSE on the 7-3 round.
The leaf blower session of the 2 a.m. net. I have to share that recently I had a chance to run one of the backpack ones, and I swear that's very impressive when that thing get put out. I think you could sit down in an office chair or a skateboard and use that as propulsion. And you need to try in the winter for clearing light snow and the like. Or a snowboarder skis may work as well. That's pretty crazy stuff. Personally, I only have a couple electrics. One I bought because I had a good experience with the one the shop had. When I bought one, nowhere near it worked, but wasn't as nice. Probably should move that on down the road because I ended up with the one the shop had. So it just does a better job. Also good for clearing light snows in the winter and such. But usually you lose the last thing I get to. Usually try to chop them up and all that. At least I don't get real deep at home, but probably should get some on the road while they're still picking up from the city. So that's my leaf blower report. Oh yeah, and Matt got Joe's. Frank's got booming audio, and so does Joe over your audio. It's kind of funny. Isn't that the same station? So that's nice. He's got a booming audio into here as well, and I'm surprised we didn't pick up some other check-ins, especially with shaking the tree and the like. I do when I remember to. And well, that was the other thing I mentioned. Well, in the last round, and I probably got to figure out and start. I think it was all private, so I was just getting a few people invited, but now I got to start turning that Facebook loose for the, forget if I call it AM Wisconsin AM, something like that, and see some of the other stuff going on. At the shop, I try to tune in for the 6-meter sideband thing that goes on. I still got to try and listen more for 50.4 guys local to the area that get on. I don't know, I got Tuesday and a Thursday night one, I think. So like the Tuesday one, I think, is at 7. Thursday maybe at the same time. And then there's other stuff on some of these other AM lists I follow for HF, and there's I guess there's another 75-meter nets. Some weeknight, and maybe a Tuesday as well on 75. That I gotta pull all that kind of detail together, make it in one spot up there, and that may help as well. We'll see if it does or not, though. But it's always fun to be out here, enjoy shaking the tree and getting folks out here in the AM mode. And it's time to get the headphones back on. I haven't been wheeling around so much. I do like listening to the net here with I usually get the fancy Kenwood headphones plugged into the ICOM here, and it works out pretty nice. And I feel how warm I'm getting this thing all toasty, so it's time to send it back up. And as usual, it's always great to hear everybody out here every month. This is N9FSE. Over.
right, thank you, Steve. And that's some interesting imagery, thinking about the backpack leaf blower as a propulsion unit. My kids have these Razor, whatever you call them, scooters, and I am not real good on those. I can just imagine how easily I would be propelled with my little two-cycle one on one of those things. I would need a helmet, I think. And I don't have a temperature probe, but your radio might be warmer than mine is right now. I've got a pretty good fan on mine, and even with all the tubes in it, there are no transistors in this radio. It's cool to the touch right now. It's kind of surprising. That fan does an incredible job. And I guess I should have said too, I'm not surprised if Joe's audio is louder than mine. I probably don't talk as close as I should to this D104 microphone, and the audio coming out of that phone is directed right into it, and it's just plain loud. Joe, I should mention, I should have said before, your audio is incredibly clear. There is a ton of lag on the video. I can see myself feeling the temperature of the radio, which was quite a while ago now. But anyway, your audio is second to none. And there's something wrong with my phone, because every time I turn it back over to you and you talk, it's too loud for my ears. But I'm not going to complain. It's working very, very well. So Joe, I'll give you another turn here on the 7-3 round. Go ahead.
All right, thanks. So I guess I'll kind of end it with a question for you, which is, do you think that one of those Pinebook computers can run like Windows 10 just to like see if it can even handle that? Because I think you said that they're ARM-based, which I think that it might kind of be fun to put an ARM processor to the test. But then again, if something goes weird or wrong, I don't want to pay $200 into the hole with a computer that doesn't really work. So maybe when those computers are a bit older or whatever. But everyone's audio has been pretty good. Occasionally, when it's switched onto the radio, sometimes the digital noise cancellation thing kind of cuts it in and out. But overall, it's been really great. Over the phone, Matt, your audio has been really good. So yeah, and I'm glad to hear that that my audio has been good, because it would kind of stink if it wasn't like that. So with that, I guess 7-3 to all of you on the radio, 7-3 to Matt. So I guess thanks for letting me join in on the net, even though it's kind of a strange process. So thanks, and 7-3.
All right, thank you, Joe, and it's great to have you here. And this is kind of a strange setup, but it actually works very well. It works way better than I ever anticipated when I first thought about doing this. I'm going to cut off the YouTube video here so that the library update doesn't get interrupted. If I go over an hour, the video will not go directly to library.